Hello and welcome back to today's More Report on Wednesday the 29th of June, the new Japan market analyst at Hantech Markets. Looking at sterling now, and we've still got the volatility running through sterling. We actually had sterling trading quite lower in the Asian session, and that sort of rebounded as the European traders came in. Sort of already, if we get my crosshair on the bar, you've got a high-low range of around about 140 odd ticks already. So you've still got the volatility in this chart, although it is obviously relatively settled compared to what we have seen. But is this a sustainable recovery? Well, I mean, yes, 50 ticks up again. I mean, just over 100 ticks higher yesterday. It is obviously relatively quite a small move, but is it the beginning of a settling in the market? Well, you'd look at the hourly chart and you'd say, well, yes, it is to a certain extent, because you've seen much smaller, tighter candles, less volatility, certainly compared to the 24th of June, where we had the whipsawing all over the place. And the hourly momentum indicators are far more neutral now. And you're seeing a fairly settled outlook to the hourly chart generally. But is this sort of beginning of a recovery? Is the question I think you'd say. Well, you need to see a move above 34.73, which was a reaction high on Monday, I would say. That is your initial resistance, and then you start to see this resistance through the trading session that we saw on Friday. So initially it'd be a reaction low there, 35.55, and then you sort of look higher up at, I mean, it's incredible, 38.40, and then 39.80. So I mean, you're talking huge upside if it does start to run in a recovery, because there's not a huge amount of resistance that you could see. So I mean, there is obviously room for this rebound if it does start to take hold. But my impression would be that you're likely to see some selling pressure coming back in again, because I don't necessarily think that a great deal has changed in the last few days. Yes, the volatility has started to calm down, but no one really knows yet the impact of this Brexit decision. And yes, obviously we had a lot of short sort of closing of closing of positions of what in front of the Brexit decision that had priced in the Remain camp victory, and you've seen the closing of those positions out. So subsequently, you saw the huge downside and sell-off. But ultimately, what is the outlook for sterling? Well, the expectation is still that there's going to be further weakness. Certainly the expectations or the forecasts in front of the Brexit decision, whether you could see sort of 15-20% downside, that is sort of back towards 120 area. So if that is the case, then you've still got further, quite significant further weakness still to be seen in sterling, despite the fact that we've seen a settling. And you look at the technicals, you think, well, negative outlook on the MACD line, stochastics, RSI is bouncing around 40, but I think I see this certainly as a trending market. And I think that that could certainly still have further downside. 15 was the low in January, so there is precedent for further weakness on the RSI. So I think that ultimately we're seeing a bit of a settling, but with whether it's the beginning of a sustainable recovery in sterling remains to be seen. It's still going to be a very difficult chart to really go, and I think ultimately it still has to be played on a really short-term outlook. I don't think you can sort of trade it, sort of say today, yes, I'm going to buy it and hold a position for a matter of days, because it's such a moving story, and I think ultimately cable could be still flying around. I think it certainly is the one, even though you've seen volatility in other markets perhaps reduced, ultimately the volatility is still relatively high in sterling, so you could see some whipsawing of moves in the coming days. So you need to be very careful, I think, with your outlook and your trading time horizon with that in mind. So with that, I wish you good luck in your trading today on sterling. In terms of supports, you'd argue you've got our slight support at 32.70 and 32.56, but the key support obviously is 31.18. So I wish you good luck in your trading today, and I'll speak to you later. Thank you.